that was the news on the hour from the great Empire State here in Poughkeepsie. And now to these messages. From Bedard Ford, found in Poughkeepsie, in Albany, and in Croton, New York. Have you driven a Ford? You don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford lately? Have you driven? Press the button, switch off the radio. I'm driving to New York City and then on to Kennedy Airport, and I do this once every 8 weeks since I separated. My wife went back to England with my daughter, who is now 8, so 8 weeks, and see an 8-year-old. I do it regularly every 8 weeks. I leave on Thursday after my class in the morning, and it's Thursday afternoon now, and I'll get the evening flight to London, and then I'll be flying back on Monday, you know, that's what I'm doing. But the problem is that when I'm in England, I haven't got a set of wheels at all, because I'm, you know, stupid me. I went and sold the bloody 280 SL Mercedes, didn't I? Should have kept it. Anyway, there we are. And I think when I'm going to get there, I'm going to go and buy something really bog standard, ordinary, that's cheap to run. I can just park in my mother's garage and then use it every 8 weeks for a few days. And what I went to buy was this, a little Ford Escort. Just an 1100, just to keep in England. And it was okay, this little car. I mean, you know, it's interesting how in America cars are sold on how, you know, pleasant, with a pleasant jingle. They're not sold on speed or performance, how fast they go around corners and that sort of thing. It's how luxurious it is, how relaxing it is. And I suppose if you're in a country where you're driving across the prairies for 600 miles, you don't want something that's going to tear about, especially if you've got a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, which you had in most states then. But in England, of course, cars were sold entirely differently. This thing was sold as a with the RS, you know, the thing, the fire-breathing RS version, which would sort of like looks as though it's a rocket with sort of great fins on the back and all that sort of thing. Same way as the Cortina had been sold originally as a Lotus Cortina with a green stripe down. That was an insane car. But you know, for a shopkeeper or a teacher or whatever, or a nurse, I mean, they didn't really want that. Most of them were buying this model, and it was perfectly all right. It went around. It had one weakness, and I remember this about Fords in those days, and that was in the wet. Not because they slid around in the wet, they're okay in the wet. It was just when you arrived through a rainstorm, the thing could conk out, and this thing did conk out with me. It's only a couple of years old. On the M5 once, when I was driving with Sarah and taking her on the way back from Wales, where we'd been to see our great friend Peter, who lived in what he called a converted shed, a pigsty. A converted one, where people would say, well, you know, where's the conversion? But it was great fun out there, and it would just conk out, and I had to pull off the side of the road and on the motorway and sort of dry out the plugs, and then you set off again. And it was a problem with the cars. But on the other hand, apart from that, if you kept out of a rainstorm, you were okay. And in fact, later on, when divorce came through, I had a girlfriend from New York who flew over to see me one summer, and it's about 1987, and she flew actually into Frankfurt, and I drove the little Ford down to Frankfurt to pick her up, and that's where our holiday started, going to Italy. Except, well, all we can say is I had two escorts, one a human escort, and one a mechanical one, and me. And I can tell you, of the three of us, we fought all the way, and which one was the best behaved. down to Bedard now. Bedard, Poughkeepsie, Croton, Albany. Get there before the next guy and see our new range.